Edge Match. It's Edge Match. You're at Edge Match. Edge Match. Don't miss Edge Match. Don't miss Edge Match. You're at Edge Match. Edge Match. Don't miss Edge Match. Don't miss Edge Match.
Hey, what is up, my EduMatch fam? Sarah here, and I'm at Sarah the Teacher on Twitter and pretty much everywhere if you ever want to connect. Super excited today to bring you this topic, which is surviving your doc program. So the reason I did this, y'all might. I don't know if you're familiar with what I've been doing on Twitter lately, but I have an abandoned Facebook account. My very first Facebook account that started like back in 2004, and all of the ratchetness, all of the goofiness is on there from 2004 up until about 2012 or 2013. And then at that point, then I went ahead and created the Facebook account that I currently use, which is slightly more professional, but not too much more. What is up? Hello, Facebook user. Yeah, slightly more professional, but I keep it ratchet from time to time. But anyway, what I like doing, because I happened to stumble upon it, so I went back into the memories. And every now and then I pluck like little pieces of the Ghost of Sarah Past, and I just put it on Twitter and I use the hashtag Sarah Crates. So today's entry comes from November 18th, 2012. So this was what, 9 years ago? And the Facebook post is a screenshot and it reads, OMG, finally can breathe a little. Well, until tomorrow anyway. Dissertation proposal is driving me crazy, but it's for the best. And I agree, Facebook user memories is a great thing. Absolutely. So what I said, I started reflecting because for some reason I'm waking up like it's some ridiculous hour every night. And so my midnight rant, I started like kind of processing this in my mind. And I was just like, I remember the dissertation days, they were no joke. Anybody in the doc program, Godspeed. I don't regret it, but when I was in it, I almost quit so many times. Oh my gosh, I almost quit like right before the finish line because I mean that's one of the most one of the most challenging things I've done in life so far. This program took me 10 years and some change. Oh, I see Salandra. Hello. And I see another Facebook user saying, "You're so funny. I remember when you were going through the tail end." Yeah. So, I mean, I got a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs there a couple times. But I didn't quit. You're right. Yeah, but it took me more than 10 years. And I didn't take a break. I just went through, and it's funny because when I was defending, and shout out to everybody who just defended, I just saw at least two of my Facebook friends who defended this week. So yes, kudos to y'all. Yes, indeed. And I have many more Facebook friends who are currently in a doc program, which kind of inspired me to do this reflection. I started doing a thread on Twitter, and I was just like, all right, let me just pluck these 7 points out and put it on a live stream because y'all know me, I'm not going to blog about it, even though I want to, but that's not going to happen. So this is probably an easier way to do it. So I wanted to share with you all some of the tips that kind of helped me survive and some lessons I learned along the way. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So the very first tip is to get done. I heard this wisdom given to me very early in the program, and for some reason I didn't listen. But the goal is to get done, not to get famous, not to do like your whole life's work. You really want to make this as easy for yourself as possible. So to give you a little bit of context on what I did, I really I wanted to do my dissertation around helping Haitian students in some way, shape, or form because I am Haitian. My parents came here in the 60s and they had my brother, then they had me a little after the 60s, I'm just saying. But anyway, so yeah, so that's my background. So I was just like, it has to be something about it has to be something concerning Haitian students. And at the beginning, I wanted to do this whole intricate, elaborate thing that would culminate in the establishment of a nonprofit. And I was just like, oh no. By the end, I was just like, I just gotta, I just gotta get done. So really, when you're in a dissertation, when you're in the doc program and you're in the dissertation, the way that I am looking at it in hindsight is that it teaches you the steps to do what you need to do, when you are ready to do your research. So, I mean, yes, you can do something that you like, something that you love, something that you're passionate about. But remember, this is practice. This is practice. This is intense practice, but it is practice to show you, to give you this skill set that you can then use for the rest of your life. So, if you want to, like go to the moon with it, make it very, your research very complex, very elaborate, then there's plenty of time for that after the fact. But what I would suggest is to just get it done. Do yourself a favor, get in, get out, get it done. Yes, and congratulations, Facebook user. Yes, I hear you on that. I hear you. And the goal is to get done. Absolutely. So that brings me to point number 2. Be intentional about your sample. And I have my cheat sheet right here so I can see exactly what I was talking about. Okay. So when you are doing your dissertation research, and you look for your sample, then what I would highly recommend is that you keep your sample as easy to get as possible. There's something called the IRB, Institutional Review Board, or the HSRB, Human Subjects Review Board. Somebody else called it something else. The name might change based on your university, but there is going to be a review board that you're going to have to go through, and there are protected populations. Those include students, like not students, but minors under the age of 18, and many other protected groups. So get familiar with who is a protected group. And my advice is that yeah, if you want to make it as simple for yourself as possible, then maybe save these groups for after your dissertation. Personal experience. So I had so my dissertation was structured with kind of like a dual participant. I had an amazing teacher, an amazing student. Now if I had just focused on what the teacher was doing, then it would have been so much easier to get through that step. But because I was focusing on both, then it took a lot of back and forth so that they make sure that everything's good, that everything is ethical. And of course we want everything to be good and ethical, but they double, triple, quadruple check you if you are working with students. So that's one thing to definitely keep in mind when you're thinking about your sample. So if I were to do it differently, then probably what I would do is to focus on the teacher side. Like, what are the teacher's perceptions? And my topic, just to let you know, my topic was about it was about using video podcasts, how student created podcasts would help them learn English. So that was my dissertation. So I could have asked teachers, what has been your experience when you utilize this practice? So pretty much having the students create. So teachers, what have you noticed? What have you experienced? I asked the student also, which in my opinion, that made it a better paper, but it also made it a much longer practice. And going back to rule 1, get done. Yeah. So rule 1 is rule 1 for a reason. All right. Moving on to rule number 3, be intentional about your population. So this is also very this is tied into the last one, which talks about being intentional about your sample, but being intentional about your population. So who are you studying? Like what is your member group that you're studying, right? And for me, my population was this big, right? It was very, very, very hard to find exactly what I was looking for, because not only did it have to be an English learner, like the student population I was looking at were English learners of Haitian descent. They had to be the linguistic minority in their ESOL classroom. So already you see that's like 4 filters, and it took me forever, just like that movie, forever to find classrooms that were reflective of this. So, definitely being intentional about the population. Who do you want to study? Don't make it a needle in a haystack. Make it easy on yourself. And of course, everything I'm saying right now, take it with a grain of salt. Like, you don't have to follow these rules to the T. These are just suggestions from me on how to make it easier. So pick and choose what works for you and for your situation. All right. Next one, make it an easy lift for participants. So I was in the dissertation phase of my research from 2012 to 2017. Um, we are now in 2021. Now, if you've been teaching for a little while, like I have, then you can you can think about what teaching was like in 2012 to 2017 versus now, right? Like right now, I'm not currently in the classroom, but I'm seeing what folks are saying, and I am seeing also what I'm seeing, right? So it's a different time, and there's way more demands placed on us as educators. We're teaching in in the midst of a pandemic. So I mean, everyone has reduced bandwidth as opposed to those days. Now, I'm saying all this to say that even back then I was having a hard time finding people who were interested in participating. So what you may want to do is to make sure to make it an easy lift for participants. I was asking a lot of my participants, and I am just thanking my lucky stars and thanking my PLN, and thanking the teacher for actually doing this. But it was a lot that I was asking. So what I do suggest is to make it as easy as possible for participants. Like, go ahead and answer this question. Maybe we could have like a conversation for 20 minutes or what have you, right? Something that's not necessarily um changing up their routine, changing up their flow, something that's maybe a one-off. You may even want to consider offering some kind of bonus. I didn't do that, but some people give gift cards and things like that. So definitely making it an easy lift for your participants, because otherwise people are going to be like, one more thing, no, can't do that. And I get it. So yes. All right. Tip number 5, pivot with your committee if you are having an emergency. By emergency, in this case, well, definitely you want to keep your committee up to speed on anything that's going to impact your study. But my emergency, and I had a few emergencies, but the one that comes to mind is that I could not find anybody to participate in my study the way that I had set it up. So there was just like Keith Sweat says, nobody was trying to take me up on this. So I remember meeting with my committee. So my chair was just like, let's get together, let's talk about this. And you could do the same thing as a student. You can approach your chair and say, hey, let's talk about this, see what we can do. So my chair pulled the committee together, and we came up with a game plan, and we were able to kind of pivot the study. So it didn't look exactly the way that it did when I first wrote it up. So just keep in constant communication with your committee. Let them know what's up. Let them know where you're struggling. Let them know, whatever might be going on in your life. So that's one thing. All right. We are more than halfway. So going on to the next point, and this point makes me a little nervous because I'm always funny talking about money. But if you have the means to get a dissertation editor, then I would highly recommend that you do so. And don't get just any dissertation editor. Get one with a reputation. Talk to your classmates, talk to people who've gone through the program before you, talk to people who might have an editor now. And the beautiful thing is that now we're all connected on social media, so we're not bound by geography. So you can reach out to your PLN, other people who may have been in the program as well, that got some good dissertation editors. So I'll tell you my story. So I've used many, many, many dissertation editors. And, at the time when I first started, then this was towards the beginning of my teaching career, I was lower on the pay scale than I currently am. And it was not like, it was not a good look, to be honest. I'm going back and looking at some of these previous posts that I had in the hashtag Sarah Crates, and yeah, a lot of them are talking about the struggle. So anyway, I would I got to the point where I was just like, I need an editor, but I did not want to pay like an exorbitant amount for an editor. I didn't want to pay what I felt was ridiculous for an editor. And I mean, really, you shouldn't have to, but so I would come across these editors I would find on like Fiverr or Upwork, and I'm sure that there's like some great ones on there. But the ones that I found, they got me like a little bit of the way, but every time I would send it to my committee, and I get like all of these comments, all of this red ink, all of this XYZ. And I was like pulling my hair out. I was just like, oh my gosh, am I ever going to finish? So eventually, I got a recommendation for this one editor, and he was expensive. He was very costly, and to be honest, it was a stretch. It was quite a stretch, but I ended up going with him, and the process was just so much simpler. So if you are able to get the editor, then that's one thing that I would say would be a splurge. And if not, then there's other ways around it. There was someone on Twitter who was talking about going to our colleagues. So there might be someone they mentioned that they connected with the middle school teacher to help them out. And I think that would be that would be awesome, like especially somebody who's been through the process themselves and knows what a dissertation, a successful dissertation looks like. And I think that that would be a great way to to save money and to get a great quality product back and save yourself some time and some headaches. So yeah, but definitely the editor, I ended up paying more because I was paying all of the like folks that got me like this far. So I paid like maybe 5 or 6 of those. Whereas if I had gone with the guy the whole time, the one I ended up going with, then I would have had that little extra chunk of change that stacks up in my pocket. So all right, so that was number 6. Now a bonus tip, I had to come back after the fact. This was probably the best one. So save the best for last. This is like karaoke, like Vanessa Williams, right? Um, but identifying your topic early. Somebody gave me that advice, and I did take this one. So you don't need to know exactly what your dissertation is going to be about. You have time, you go through your classes, you learn different things, and that helps you to kind of narrow it down. But if you have a general idea of what you want your dissertation topic to be, then go ahead and identify that, and this is the hack. All right, y'all ready? So, all of your term papers, you could start writing them around that topic. And then by the time you're ready to write your dissertation or start your dissertation, then you'll be so familiar with the topic and you'll already kind of sort of know what's out there in terms of literature. And this will help you tremendously when it comes to your chapters 1 and 2, I would say. So, identify your topic early, as many courses as you can, writing a final paper around that topic. And I mean, even if you don't end up using it like in your chapter 2, then that's totally fine because at least you'll get a better idea of what you want to drill down and focus in on. So yes. And I wanted to share one more tip. So huge shout out to Dr. Eileen Winokur. She just released a book 2 weeks ago, Journey to Belonging. So she responded back and I told her I was going to give her a shout out. She was cool with it. So her tweet said, "It took me 8 years and lots of times and I thought about quitting, but I persevered. Many don't finish and are considered ABD, all but dissertation. Lots of reasons for that. The advice I give is be passionate about your dissertation topic. Be so excited to know the results of your study." I love that because that's a great hack. You want to know, like, that gives you, some direction, that gives you some focus, some energy to keep on keeping on in the whole process. So I love that tip. Thank you so much, Doc, for sharing that. And yeah, but yeah, it's definitely a struggle, but I'll say, with all honesty, even though there were so many times I almost did not make it, I do not regret a thing about it. And like, okay. I was thinking to myself, do I recommend it? Well, I would recommend it if it's in line with your goals. If that's something that you want to do for whatever reason. Again, I throw it back to Barbara Bray, define your why. Like, why are you doing this? And excuse me, if you have like a very strong reason behind it, then stick to that and let it drive you. And I mean, sometimes people take breaks, they come back, that's totally fine. Sometimes people try it out, they're like, this is not for me, that's totally fine. But I would say that if it's something that you really want, and and you're willing. Oh, and some people transfer, sometimes they find a better fit at whatever university that they switch to. So I mean, there's lots of different ways to do it and to make it work for you. I see the Facebook user was saying, "Love the advice from Eileen Winokur." Yes, indeed. So yeah, yeah. But I would say, like, if it's something that that you really want, then try to stick to it. You know, try to get some accountability buddies, maybe, so that you know that you're in it together. Shout out to my people. You know, most of them finished way before I did, but they were cheering me on. There were even some folks that didn't. You know, we weren't in the same program, but they were cheering me on. People in the PLN, you know, I got a lot of great support and a lot of great advice. And you know, we had a Voxer group for a while. Oh, hey, what's up, Rochelle? Yeah, we had a Voxer group for a while, about all about that process. And that, just like, you know, the PLN for us when we're teaching, then the PLN for, you know, your fellow students, that's also very important, because there'll be times that you want to go in there and maybe fuss somebody out. And you know, I can tell you from experience. But you know, it's great to have like that separate network where people get it, people get you, and they can cheer you on, and they'll understand. You know, if you go in there and you just start wilding out, then people get it because they've been there. So anyway, that's all I have for y'all today. We have the I don't even know section, but to be quite honest, it has been a day. So I am going to I'm going to leave y'all, but I wanted to say thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening. And yeah, see, I told y'all I would be back. So next time I have some kind of random Facebook or Twitter rant at like 2 a.m., then you'll probably see me back here again. So, all right, everybody. Well, you take care, and I'll see you next time. All right, let me get our video up. Shout out to Ron Madison for the great song, and shout out to Rachel Pearson for the great graphic. All right, bye, y'all.